Hey, what's up, everybody? Joey G, y'all know who it is. Got some little bad news before I start this Raw vs. Nitro Part 6. As I hear, CM Punk is departed from the WWE completely. This sucks. This is bad news. I just want to confirm my show from yesterday. I had news that he's returning. But CM Punk is one crazy mother effer, you know what I'm saying? And with him, I heard the thing went down. He did not want to sign the contract. Him and Hunter had words. Punk wanted to fight Triple H, like fist fight him. They were at the Performance Center in Orlando. Triple H, you know, the bitch that he is, wouldn't fight him. Punk was saying, come on, no, let's just drop it all. Paul, I called him by his real name. That's what I read on a report. They want, you know, Phil, CM Punk, his real name, Phil Brooks. Triple H, his real name, Paul Esquiva. Kept asking him, telling him to come outside. Triple H, little corporate bitch that he is, he don't even wear shades anymore. I don't want to go, I don't want to go. And Vince, you know, said something. And then I think Punk, they said, tried to like kick Vince. And right when you did that, you know, he wasn't Shawn Michaels, so he wasn't keeping his job. Even though Punk is almost as good as Shawn Michaels, if not as good. And that's saying a lot, because Shawn Michaels is my favorite of all time. And is the greatest in-ring performer ever. But your best friend, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, he's not the real Triple H. The real Triple H is Hollywood Hulk Hogan. And I don't even like him like that. I'm the Macho Man. Oh, yeah. But CM Punk said something to Vince and Punk like, I don't need you. I don't need this company. And Vince said the WWE didn't need you, and that was it. So I'm sorry for all you fans. I mean, Batista's coming back. I mean, most likely Kurt. I know Batista for a fact coming back, but Daniel Bryan's coming back, but CM Punk, best in the world. I hope he goes to TNA or Japan or somewhere where you can see him. Not Japan because we won't see him. Ring of Honor, we won't see him here in Philly. I don't know about all you other states and cities and countries and all over the world. But here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and United States, we won't see Ring of Honor. We won't see Japan unless it's through something on the internet. So the only way we'll see him is he goes to TNA. That's the only way. So Punk, you my man. You ever want a shout out, I'll roll with you anytime, Punk, but I ain't straight edge like that, you know what I mean? I like to get a little frizzled sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Around, get a little dippity-do, you know what I mean? But anyway, it's my Raw vs. Nitro, Part 6. We're up to 1998. 1998 was kind of the year WCW just fell splat to the ground, and that's exactly what it did. When Goldberg's streak ended, that's when it went to the ground. But I talked a lot about WCW on my Part 5 episode yesterday. So I'm going to talk about, you know, WWE today. The Rock, if you know, started becoming a household name. That's SummerSlam, 98. He fought Triple H. And what I think, besides the SummerSlam 95 match between HBK and Razor in Pittsburgh at the old Igloo, SummerSlam 95, face versus face for the Intercontinental title, Shawn Michaels versus Razor, their second ladder match, that was better than the one at WrestleMania 10. The WrestleMania 10 was great. That marked the ladder. That put the ladder match, like, that made the thing for the TLCs and all that. But SummerSlam 95, Intercontinental title, Shawn Michaels, the champion, against Razor Ramon, Scott Hall, the challenger, my two favorite wrestlers. Greatest ladder match ever. SummerSlam 95 was one of the worst SummerSlams ever and one of the worst years ever in wrestling. But that was the greatest ladder match ever. By far. The second greatest ladder match, SummerSlam 98, 3 years later at Madison Square Garden, Triple H versus The Rock. You remember that time? The Rock was a hated heel. But if you remember, I remember him slamming Triple H on that ladder. And I was at MSG that night. You know what I mean? In New York. You know, I'm from Philly. We took the ride up there. 21 years old, you know, drank, you know, we had a bottle of some Canadian vodka, you know, we smoked some of that, we went right in, chilling in the garden. I mean, when you're in the garden, you're in historics. I mean, you're where Bruno lost the title to Ivan Koloff, you could hear a pin drop. I mean, you're in a historic place where boxing, sport games, I mean, being in the garden is like no other. I'll give New York that. I'm not a big New York guy, I'm a Philly guy, but you know what I'm saying? Madison Square Garden is the shit. And putting an arena right down the street like the Barclays Center, that's a slap in the Garden's face. The real arena in New York City, and I'm not even from New York City, is MSG. And I think most of New Yorkers, even people that live in Brooklyn, would agree with me. Madison Square Garden is the real arena. And I think WrestleMania 30 should have been at Madison Square Garden, not in the Superdome in Louisiana. But that's another story. But that ladder match was great. And if you met, that's when The Rock's popularity, 1998, started to get on the rise. And I'm going to tell you the reason why they turned him heel at that Survivor Series that year. Stone Cold was the face of the company. At that SummerSlam 98 had a lot of things, because there was a lot of face versus faces in that match. And even though, like, The Rock wasn't a face yet, he was getting over with the crowd. When you get over with a New York crowd, you've gotten over. I mean, he slammed Triple H was the face. I mean, he was the new leader of the new DX, which was the face DX, with X-Pac, the Road Dogg, Billy Gunn, China. You know what I mean? This is before he got with Stephanie. This is before he, got up Vince's ass to be the game. The game, I am the game. But anyway, it was just a great match. I mean, I remember China coming down and, pulling The Rock's pants down, his ass crack showing, and all the girls going, ah, you know what I mean? So there you go, John Cena. That's for you. The girls like The Rock, too. And, then finally China hit, The Rock, and the Rock said, China hit The Rock in the people's jewels. And then, people, when he slammed Triple H on that ladder, and he did the people elbow thing, the whole garden was doing it with him. And right then you knew, this guy is going to be something big. I took, I even had sunglasses then. I had them on in the arena that night. And I said, sitting with my boy Nick Ghazi, I said, yo, I used to think of it as a joke. I was like, this dude's just another dude in the nation with who was he? The Godfather, Mustafa, whatever, Papa Shango. He had a million names. D'Lo Brown. I mean, Mark Henry, who I didn't think was that big of a deal. I didn't even think he'd still be around now. And Farouk, Ron Simmons. I mean, come on. He was the first African-American champion ever, but it was in WCW, so can you really count that? You know what I mean? It's like when Christian won the belt in TNA, when it was called the NWA World Title. I mean, like, when he won the World Title in WWE, you don't hear him mention the TNA title. Now, when Ric Flair says 16-time champions, we all know that 14 of them were in WCW. 2 of them were in the WWE. But 14 of them were in WCW. So we know he didn't win, 16 world championships in WWE, but don't mention the WCW. Well, plus they own everything WCW owns. You know what I'm saying? That ladder match 98 was great. It put The Rock's career to another level, even though he lost. It turned him into a face. Austin fought The Undertaker that night. And at the time, The Undertaker was still a face, but going that heel. He was become that evil Lucifer-looking Undertaker, if you remember, with his brother Kane. And they became the Ministry of Darkness. Everybody remembers that. And that was another good match. But most of the garden I was there was for Stone Cold. It was unbelievable, because usually everybody cheers a Taker. But everybody was for Stone Cold. I mean, you had your Undertaker fans there. He got his cheers in. But most of the crowd there was for Steve Austin. I mean, when you hear any arena, when I used to watch Raw, the crowd would just go crazy. Anytime you heard that glass break, and he came walking out with his strut, with his BMF coat, and that stands for badass motherfucker. That's what that stands for on his coat. I heard him say that on a DVD. I heard him say it on TV. That's what that stands for in that leather vest he used to wear. He said that right to Jim Ross. It's funny. I remember when he stunned Jim Ross. I remember when he turned heel and Vince was like, get him, and Austin was just beating the shit out of JR. JR's laying there like this, taking shots. Like, that shit was funny. But 98 was that kind of year, and The Rock was just getting over. I mean, every time you would hear, do you smell what The Rock is cooking? And his music would hit. And the fans would come unglued to the point where Austin's music would hit, and The Rock was getting just as loud as a pop as Austin was getting. And this was within 2 months of time. I mean, I remember seeing the dude in the crowd. I mean, people I know what I'm talking about. The dude had right before Survivor Series 98, Deadly Game, he had this shirt on. He had a chef thing on and a chef's hat, and it says, I smell what The Rock's cooking. Right then I was like, this dude's the man. But Vince had to come up with a decision, because The Rock was starting to take that top spot. Austin just got that top spot at WrestleMania that year. 98, March of 98, when he beat HBK for the title. And HBK was coming back. He came back as the corporate commissioner, as we all know. And that kind of sucked. And then 2 weeks later, he super kicked Vince and then got the shit beat out of him outside of Raw in the snow. Anybody remember that? And they really beat the shit out of him. And DX let him have it. Remember, Hunter said what goes around comes around. Him and X-Pac both said it. And they were both two original Clique members. I'm not talking about the Outlaws in China. I'm talking about Sean Waltman and Hunter Hearst Helmsley, two of HBK's best friends. Because if you remember before that, he hit X-Pac in the head with a chair and went with The Rock and the corporation. But the reason The Rock went heel is to give Austin, he was the poster child. At that time, 98, 99, Austin was the poster child of the WWE. And they were just killing Nitro. There's not a lot to tell about Nitro back then. I mean, we all know about Goldberg Streak, Starrcade 98. I think that and the Finger of Doom a week later, was the death of WCW. The Camel, Scott Hall's my favorite wrestler, tied with Shawn Michaels. Hits Goldberg with the taser, as I said last night. Nash, he falls into Nash, his head falls right into Nash's nuts. Diesel, power Nash bomb, 1, 2, 3, new world champion. I was going nuts. I was happy. I liked Kevin Nash. I was happy that he was the champion. I had no idea the whole NWO was getting back together, and we're going to wear the Wolfpack colors. But Eric Bischoff thought that was going to be it. Well, I'll get the whole NWO back together. Instead of wearing black and white, we'll wear red and black. And that's what they tried to be like the DX. Have you known Hogan started wearing baggy clothes in the early of '99? They were trying to be like DX. Then they made Ric Flair like the president, and it went to Flair's head. And he was like, I'm the president of the world. And Mean Gene would be like, no, you're the president of WCW. They were trying to copy off the WWE. They were trying to make Flair like Vince and the NWO like DX. And you just couldn't do that. They were trying to make Eric Bischoff look like a good guy, where Eric Bischoff was a complete dickhead for 3 years. You just couldn't. It was ass backwards. You couldn't do it. And then WCW slowly fell to the ground. And Raw was just kicking its ass. And that whole, especially 1999. Big Show arrived, the Giant. He left WCW. Chris Jericho, as I said yesterday, the best intro ever. He interrupted The Rock. How's a better way to come into WWE? Interrupting the greatest superstar ever in WWE. In my opinion, The Rock is, it's hard to say out of him, Hogan, Savage, and Austin, and Shawn Michaels, them five. And there's a couple other ones, Taker's in there as well. There's a lot, but in my opinion, The Rock's the greatest WWE superstar of all time. He just on the mic, in the ring, everything. Jericho cut a great promo. That big thing, it started in the end of May, and finally August, what was it? I think it was August 9th, yeah. He came out, and I remember The Rock was like, who in the blue hell are you? And Chris Jericho was like, I told you my name was, and The Rock was like, it doesn't matter what your name is. It was just great. The 99 was just where Nitro it was like it didn't exist anymore. It just, they tried to put the title on Brett. That was the year Owen died too. Rest in peace, Owen. You know what I mean? Tragic accident. Owen Hart fell from the rafters. It's the Blue Blazer. It was a tragic accident. He died, Bret Hart didn't even make a speech on TV for 2 months. Then he finally made a speech, and it seemed like he blamed it on Vince and the WWE. It wasn't Vince McMahon's fault. It wasn't Vince Russo's fault. Owen Hart said yes to it. He did it. Bret's always trying to blame somebody. Bret, you're just an old jealous man. Like I said, you can never lace Shawn Michaels' boots. You want to come at me, Bret? I would love to debate you, because I would make your ass have another heart attack. For real. Because, Bret, I never could stand you. And that's right. I'm glad Hulk Hogan never gave it up to you. I'm glad. And I'm not a big Hulkamaniac, but I'm so-called wearing his red and yellow colors today. But you know what? I'm glad Hulk never gave it up to you, for real, because you couldn't lace Hulk's boots either. Click for life. I'll do the rest of 99, but there's not that much to do. The Raw vs. Nitro, the final show tomorrow. Part 7, the final show, the death of WCW and the death of Monday Nitro. And more in the WWE and John Cena becoming a Paul Heyman god. Jesus Christ, please. Let John Cena become that Paul Heyman guy. This is Raw vs. Nitro, Part 6, the final, Part 7, tomorrow night, the death of WCW. This is Joey G. I'm out. Peace, dickheads.